it's a very minor thing when you think about all the people literally around the globe working together for the common good of mankind. And I want to, like as they said, thank everyone as we go forward. And with that, we'll say increment 42 has begun. All right?
Congrats.
All right. Congratulations. Thank you all.
All right. Congrats, Commander.
All right.
Hey.
All right.
Hey, Max, you did it.
Good job. Good job.
Yeah.
That is what that is.
All right, Butch. I didn't bring much to the International Space Station for you, buddy, but I did bring a command pennant. Thanks to Judy for getting this for us, and there you go. I hope you fly it with pride. I hope you fly it with pride.
That is special. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Amazing. No, I had no idea.
Cool.
Gotta love those guys. I do.
Again, that was Saturday's change of command ceremony that took place at mid-afternoon Houston time as Max Sarayev handed over command of the International Space Station to Barry Wilmore, the veteran NASA astronaut, and he accepted from Reed Wiseman, a Navy cohort, a U.S. flag pennant that Wiseman carried up to orbit with him when he and Alexander Gerst and Sarayev launched off the planet back on May 29th. Wiseman, of course, has become somewhat of a worldwide celebrity through his documentation and the chronicling of all of his exploits through social media throughout the course of the past 5.5 months, as has Alexander Gerst and Max Sarayev on respective social media sites. So this trio has been working inside the Soyuz for the past hour or so, activating communications links and checking out the Soyuz systems before they move in to the Soyuz and close the hatch between the Soyuz and the Rassvet module. That will be coming up in about 10 minutes or so. The hatch closure will be followed by the leak checks that will be conducted on both sides of the interface between the Soyuz and the Rassvet itself to make sure that we have an airtight seal between the two vehicles, after which the small vestibule or passageway between the International Space Station and the Soyuz will be depressurized down to vacuum to set the stage for the undocking of the Soyuz from the Rassvet module, which will occur at 6:31 p.m. Central Time. That's about 3 hours and 35 minutes from now.
Okay, guys, I might not record all that.
The undocking of the Soyuz will start with the opening of the hooks that have held the TMA-13M in place at the Rassvet module. A couple of separation burns of the Soyuz engine will back the Soyuz away to a safe distance from the International Space Station for a deorbit burn of 4 minutes and 41 seconds in duration that is scheduled at 9:05 p.m. Central Time. That will break the Soyuz, slow it down by some 128 meters per second, allowing it to drop into the Earth's atmosphere. The pyrotechnic separation of the three sections of the Soyuz will leave only the descent module in place. The descent module will be housed by Sarayev in the center seat as Soyuz commander. Reed, the temperatures around the Soyuz will build to about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Its heat shield will repel those temperatures until a series of parachutes are commanded to be opened at about 9:44 p.m. Central Time. First a pilot chute, then the main chute on the Soyuz. It will descend gently down to the landing site in Kazakhstan, with touchdown expected at 9:58 and 33 seconds p.m. Central Time, which will be 9:58 a.m. Kazakhstan time on Monday morning.
Yeah, guys, it
The
will be in the morning for me
at
as well.
the landing site has been a subject of great interest over the past couple of days. It looks like it will be somewhat of a challenge, but we are expecting acceptable weather for the landing. The latest information received from the Spaceflight Meteorology Group here at the Johnson Space Center indicates that the current temperature at the landing site is only about 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And although that will be warming up by landing time, we're still expecting temperatures at landing time several hours from now to be in the mid-20s Fahrenheit at best. It appears as if there'll be several decks of clouds, with the lowest one decreasing in coverage. That first deck could be very low or fog. The second deck looks to be about 2,000 feet in altitude, and then there'll be a higher deck at altitude. So the stupendous shots of the Soyuz descending under its parachute that we enjoyed back in September when Steve Swanson and his crew returned home may not be the case today, although the conditions are acceptable for landing in the eyes of the Russian search and recovery forces. The Rosaviatsia team that leads this recovery operation for the crew during the course of the day and night today. That team will be accompanied by a team of NASA recovery personnel who deployed from the Johnson Space Center several days ago, arriving in the town of Kustanai, just across the Russian border in northern Kazakhstan. That team also accompanied by European Space Agency personnel. The NASA team led by Sean Fuller, who's the director of human spaceflight programs in Russia, and Joel Montalbano, who's the deputy program manager for the International Space Station.
Okay.
But we did receive everything.
The Soyuz will separate 3 hours from now and pretty much do the orbit burn and land.
For controlling.
The video that's being referred to in this communication from Russian flight controllers in Korolyov has to do with the setup of cameras to document the final farewells between the crew members that will be coming up shortly, and the closing of the hatch between the Soyuz TMA-13M spacecraft and the Rosviet module. The recovery of these three crew members is a well-choreographed operation led by the Russian Search and Recovery Forces. A total of 12 Russian Mi-8 helicopters serve in support of these Russian operations. 8 of those 12 helicopters will be flying directly from the staging city in Kustanai, Kazakhstan, down to the landing site, which is about 53 miles to the northeast of the remote town of Arkalyk in north-central Kazakhstan. 4 other Mi-8 helicopters will be deployed to the southwest of there, to midway between the prime landing site and the ballistic landing site, which is further to the southwest. In the unlikely event the Soyuz would encounter a problem that would require it to land short of its intended landing site. 2 other Russian Mi-8 helicopters will be deployed at that ballistic site itself. So 8 in the prime landing site, 2 midway between prime and ballistic, and 2 at the ballistic landing site. There are 2 large Antonov fixed-wing aircraft that are also in play, one around the prime landing site that will serve as a flying command and control center to relay communications from the crew and data from the Soyuz spacecraft back to the Russian flight control team in Korolyov as the Soyuz descends toward the landing site.
Got that.
Also, as we have mentioned in previous Soyuz landings, it's worth mentioning again, about 23 minutes after the deorbit burn, we should expect a possible loss of communications with the Soyuz vehicle as it passes beyond a range of 124 miles or 200 kilometers away from the International Space Station. Because of the altitude that the station is currently flying at and the geometry of the antennas on the Soyuz vehicle, we may experience choppy communications and then a loss of communications until the Soyuz passes within range of that flying Antonov 12 aircraft, huge fixed-wing aircraft that will be relaying data and voice communications back to the Russian flight control team in Korolyov. There are a series of all-terrain vehicles as well that will be positioned at the prime landing site to support the recovery of the crew. If all goes as planned, Wiseman, Gerst, and Sarayev will be extracted from their Soyuz vehicle